Vicky here, and welcome back to my channel. I am here to talk to you about the books I have read in June and July. So, to kick off June, I wanted to reread The Giver by Lois Lowry. I am going to do a whole vlog series on this and the other 3 books in the quartet, and I just started Gathering Blue, which is the second book in this. So stay tuned for full thoughts and review on this and the other 4 books. I loved it, like 5 out of 5 stars. So I read this originally in school, but I can't remember what grade. I think the main character is 12, so probably around that age, so like grade 9, maybe? And then I read 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act, which I cannot find. I have it somewhere. I read that in June because it was National or Canadian Aboriginal Month, Indigenous Month, something like that in June. And the library was doing like a read-along with it. My local bookstore had 1 copy left, and I went and bought it like June 1st and did tons of highlighting and everything like that. I knew it was a book that I would want to own physically, and I also won one from the library for participating in the program and was able to pass that along to a friend. So that was really awesome. And I highly, highly recommend it. It is about the Indian Act that was here in Canada and how it has affected people from like the 1800s up until now, the Indigenous people specifically. And I should do like a whole dedicated review on that, but it'd be mostly me just reading the book. So you should go out and get it yourself. I am not personally very politically minded or like understanding like if I got into the nitty gritty of what the Indian Act said and all like the language and stuff and the law language and stuff used in it, it would go right over my head totally. But this book was very accessible to people, for everyone to be able to read. It just had like a quote, like, this is one thing in the Indian Act. An Indigenous woman, and in this case, they used the term Indian at different times because it was the language used back then, and for some legal status reasons, Indian is used at times. But if you were an Indian woman and you married a non-Indigenous man, you lost your Indian status. I don't get it, because it's like, how do you... Like, if I married a black guy, I don't become black. I'm still me. Like, I don't understand how you can, like, lose status that is, like, a part of your heritage, a part of who you are. But basically, it was, like, one thing you might not know about the Indian Act, and there was 21 things, obviously, and that was number, like, 3 or 4 or something like that, and it was about Indigenous women losing their status. And so it was just, like, a line, a paragraph, or whatever from the actual Indian Act, and then it went into... Bob Joseph, I believe, is the author, and then he talked about like what that meant and everything like that. So it wasn't full of all this like legalese or anything like that, and very easy to follow along with, and definitely one you'd want to buy to be able to like highlight and mark up and stuff like that. It was really, really frustrating and angering and a really good and important read for sure. And then I also picked up Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Janie Allen, and I read this as a buddy read with Books with Bonnie. So this one took me a little bit longer to read because whenever I do like a buddy read, I'm like, oh no, I gotta read it like really, really fast and get it done in like 2 days because I feel like that's how everybody else reads. And then she kept being like, oh no, I haven't picked it up yet, or I'm getting to it, but it's a really hard read, so it's taking me a little bit longer and stuff. So I kind of slowed down in my reading as well. And I didn't tab a lot or anything like that, but I did highlight a few. Got a little scribble there. My dog is down here getting into trouble. I did highlight a few things in this, but I'm glad I read it as a buddy read, and now I want to, in August, get to Black Girls Must Be Magic, I believe. I own it. So I am glad that I was able to read this as a buddy read. The main character's name is Tabitha Walker, and I couldn't be more different from Tabitha Walker unless she was a middle-aged man living in like Europe or Africa or Spain, Mexico, somewhere else. Not North America, basically. She's 33 years old and I'm 34, so we had pretty much that in common, and that was it. And the fact that we're women. I'll just read a quick little synopsis. Tabitha Walker is a black woman with a plan to have it all. At 33, the checklist for the life of her dreams is well underway. Education? Check. Good job? Check. Down payment for a nice house? Check. Dating material? Dating marriage material? Check, check, and check. With a coveted position as a local news reporter, a paper-perfect boyfriend, and even a standing Saturday morning appointment with a reliable hairstylist, everything seems to be falling into place. So this book starts off with her getting bad news from her doctor about her egg supply not being where it should be, and either she needs to get pregnant like yesterday or book to have her eggs frozen. So that is what I'm talking about in the fact that I couldn't relate to her in that sense, because I got married and had babies when I got married at 22 and got pregnant at 23. We got pregnant a month before our 1-year anniversary. And I now, at the age of 34, 1 year older than Tabitha at the beginning of this book, I have 4 children. So that is not the path life I chose. She chose a career working at like a news station, and she is like a reporter there, and I do not have a career in any field, really. I worked temp jobs and like cashier, customer service type jobs, and have been off most of the last 10 years just raising my children. So our life paths have gone in totally different directions. I could relate to her obviously as like a woman, but not as a woman striving to make it in a male dominated career, and as a Black woman trying to make it in a male dominated career. There was a few things I asked, like Books and Bonnie. There is a scene in here with her boss. I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's a scene in here with her boss that he kind of goes out on a limb kind of thing. And there's some tension there because it's like she is working her butt off for this position at this company. And he's kind of like, I don't know if you've earned it. And it's like, what? I've been working my butt off. But he also kind of takes a chance on her, even though he doesn't feel like she earned it. So there's kind of like this weird balance there where it's like, well, at least he took the chance even though he didn't think you deserved it, but he should recognize that you deserve that position. It was kind of an interesting tension there. And she also asks her bookmark, always leaving my bookmarks in my books and then I can't find my bookmark. Her grandmother is white, her dad's mom. And she asks her grandmother, I believe at one point, what does it mean to you to be white? And I was like, that's a really good question, because I think as white people, we don't think about race a lot because it doesn't affect us the same way it does people of darker skin complexion and different races. People who are obviously not white. It just doesn't affect us the same way because of the world we are living in. And I recognize that I have white privilege. I recognize that now as an adult, being on social media and being more aware of what is going on in the world and what that means to live in like a racist society. I have advantages as a white person living in a white dominated sphere. And I don't know where I was going with this. I got distracted. She asked her grandma what it meant to be white. And I don't see those effects so much as being a white person because like I have that privilege and I don't see color because color doesn't affect me personally. But I am seeing it more and more now that I've been made aware of it. So I think that's a big thing about what that means to like, what does it mean to be white? It means not thinking about your race constantly. Black girls must die exhausted. The title could be like a more sad thing. They're exhausted because of the racial pressures on them and not being taken seriously as a woman, as a Black woman in the workforce, things like that. Like you're just physically exhausted. But it also kind of means like at the end it talks about being it made me think of in the Bible, it talks about winning the race and getting into heaven and God being like, good job, my faithful servant. I'm trying to think of the exact wording. I don't know the exact wording, but like you were a faithful servant and you were on fire for me and you lived your life for God and doing all these things and advancing God's kingdom. And it's kind of like you're exhausted from doing all this good work. So I felt like this title could kind of go in both directions, and I liked that it wasn't just like a negative thing. When I was messaging Books with Bonnie about this, I said that I liked that it's a slice of life story for sure. And there is the event at the beginning of this book where she gets this devastating medical news that she's dealing with, and that's like the catalyst of what starts this book. But you're not just getting that story of her health, fertility crisis. It's not just a romance story. It's not just navigating like wanting to get pregnant but not maybe being in the right relationship. It's not just her fighting at work for her position. It's not just about her and her friends. It's about all of it. It's about her relationship with her father, her trying to reconcile with her father and have a better relationship with her half-sisters. And there's the relationship with her grandmother, and there's the relationship of her at work, and there's her romantic relationship, and her relationship with her friends, and her wanting to be a mom, and fertility, and what decisions she's going to make. And I really liked that it encompassed like all of it. Highly recommend this, and I am looking forward to jumping into Black Girls Must Be Magic in August. So I also finished Dragonfly and Amber, which is the second book in the Outlander series. Still enjoying this, still awesome, great time. I'm not going to go into great detail about these books, obviously. If you've read them, you know. If you haven't read them, you're probably not going to read them. I don't know by now, but yes, good books. And then I read But You Don't Look Autistic. I read that one as an ebook, and I believe she is from the Netherlands. Her name is like Bianca Topes, and it was really, really, really good and interesting, and I learned a lot about autism and what that looks like, and she even gives tips about how to, if you are, I'm trying to think of the proper language for it, the like neuronormative and neurodiverse, something like that. Anyway, she gives tips for people who are not autistic and how to deal with the autistic person that might be in their life. So that one, it was really, really good, and it's really short, and I highly recommend it. And then next to that one, when I looked it up on my Hoopla app, it came up with, that one's called But You Don't Look Autistic, and then the other one was Funny You Don't Look Autistic, and he is a Canadian comedian who talks about his autism, and I have not finished that book yet because I am listening to it with my husband, and it takes us forever to finish anything, but it is like 5 or 6 hours long, so we'll be able to finish it next weekend on our trip to Edmonton. That one is another really good one, and reading them like back to back like that, it was really good because they both talk about a lot of the same points and agree on a lot of the same things, and she's from the Netherlands, like I said, and he's Canadian, so it was kind of cool. Like, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, these principles are kind of universal. And, you know, like when you're talking about these books, you're talking in generalizations, and with autism, there's a huge spectrum as well. So it's good to know, like, whoever you're dealing with that might be autistic, or if you yourself might be autistic, it's good to know like where on the spectrum you are. And this guy who does Funny You Don't Look Autistic, his brother is also autistic.
Opposite problems.
Yeah, they have like the exact opposite problems in their autism. Like, he gets overstimulated, so he needs to like block out stimulation, where his brother doesn't get enough stimulation. Like, he talked about like he'd be running around naked and just like jumping in the snow in Toronto in the middle of Canadian winters, and it is cold. And I haven't been to Toronto in the middle of winter, but I can imagine because I live in Canada and in Alberta. And so, like, it's like his body wouldn't pick up just how cold it is. So he needed to jump into that cold to feel anything at all. All the problems that Michael had to deal with, his brother had the exact opposite. Like, could you imagine his parents? Like, they are saints, honestly. Really, really interesting, and definitely worth a listen as well. I also picked up The Undomestic Artist by Sophie Kinsella because I saw that Books and Lala had read this book. And then I saw this at like Value Village or something like that, and I was like, cute, I'll pick it up and see if it's any good. This book was what I wanted from that Escape to Giddywell Grange book. Workaholic attorney Samantha Sweeting has just done the unthinkable. She's made a mistake so huge it'll wreck any chance of a partnership. Going into utter meltdown, she walks out of her London office, gets on a train, and ends up in the middle of nowhere. Asking for directions at a big, beautiful house, she's mistaken for an interviewee and finds herself being offered a job as a housekeeper. So she is a lawyer, and she has a housekeeper. She doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she doesn't do any of that, and all of a sudden she is being offered this job as a housekeeper, and she is terrible at it. Of course, these people have a cute gardener whose mom happens to be good at all this domestic stuff, and he offers his mom's help for her, Samantha. And I really like this book because it does talk about like going from a high power job as an attorney, just looking at your lists, and she was talking about how you get paid every like 6 minutes as a lawyer or something like that. So her schedule would be divided into like 6 minutes. Like, I'm doing this amount of work, this amount of work, this work for this client, and looking up this and researching this and blah, blah, blah. And her day was literally like 6-minute increments. And now she has weekends off and stuff like that, like working as a domestic help, as a undomestic goddess. but she actually has like time off and freedom. And I read a part to my husband because she's like, I'm going to soak in the tub for hours and hours and hours, and all this time passes, and it's been like 7 minutes. And she's like, okay, well, I will take longer reading the newspaper and drinking my coffee this morning and blah, blah, blah. And it's been like 5 minutes. So she's having a really hard time like adjusting. But I really like that it talks about that work-life balance. And people are like, of course you want the high-powered attorney job and the prestige and the money and blah, blah, blah. And she learns that life isn't all about that stuff. And yeah, being domestic help might not be the most glamorous job in the world, but she's so much more fulfilled and happy with her life. So I really like this. I have never read any other Sophie Kinsella, but yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you're looking for a good fun time and another little like slice of life, kind of ridiculous circumstances, and she learns a lesson along the way, and I really appreciated it and enjoyed this one. I listened to Shipped by Angie something. It is a book about a romance book about this girl who works for a cruise line, and she is up for a promotion, a possible promotion to, I don't know, help market the cruise line, and another guy is up for the promotion as well, and neither one of them have been on a cruise with the company, so they are both sent on a cruise, and they've never met in person because he works remotely. He does the social media side of things. So of course there's going to be a little bit of a rivalry there. I saw Gabby talking about this, so I picked it up because I was looking for a vacation for the Suns Out, Books Out, vacation beach vibes or whatever, and that one was available on Libby, and so I picked it up, and it was a shorter one. I think it was like 8 or 10 hours or something like that, and I really enjoyed it. It was cute. It was fun. They go to the Galapagos Islands on this trip, and a lot of atmosphere and stuff, and yeah, it was good. It's been like a lot of the other romance books that I have been reading lately. That's not one of them.
No, I'm just showing them books that I've read.
And then I picked up The Wife Between Us. This is the one I read for like all of the Suns Out, Books Out by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. So this is my first ever Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, and I thought it was good. There was definitely a twist halfway through the book, so I was like, now what's going to happen? Because we still have like all of this left to go. So I thought it was good. I totally forgot that I read it, so obviously it wasn't super memorable, but my brain is... Don't take my word for it, my brain. I got mummy brain. When you read this book, you will make many assumptions. True. You'll assume you're reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. Read between the lines. Basically. The first part of the book is about you are reading from the perspective of this wife whose husband has left her and she's moved in with her aunt and is just having a hard time coping with this divorce. He made a lot of good money and she had been trying to get pregnant and was never successful with that. But she was just like at home and her job was just to be like the housewife and get pregnant. And he made really good money and they had a very comfortable lifestyle, and then he leaves and he's met this younger woman. He has left his wife for her. So you're reading the perspective of the wife like after this divorce and how she's coping or not coping very well with it. And then every other chapter is their perspective of him getting married or planning to get married to this pretty young woman that he has left his wife for. Like that we get both perspectives and then it helps move the story along. It took me like all week to read it. It's pretty thick. I was hoping for it to be a little bit of a faster thriller because like I said, I was reading it for a readathon, so I was hoping to get through it a lot faster, but I'm just going with the flow lately and just trying my darndest to read and enjoy what I'm reading and not stress out about it. So I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Like a 3.5 because I didn't remember it, but the twists were good while I was reading it. I read All American Muslim Girl for all in the title for the buzzword for June. I really enjoyed that one. The cover is beautiful. It's so pink and flowery and pretty. And it is a teenage story about this girl whose father is Muslim. Her mother was not Muslim, but converted to the faith when they were engaged and planning on getting married. And he has raised his daughter in a non-religious home. He came from Jordan, I believe. And he's very much like science. Science is where it's at. Religion is a bunch of hogwash. Like, I don't believe in that. I don't keep up with that stuff. That's like my mom's religion, my family. That's fine, but not for us. We are scientists. And she's white passing. And there's an incident at the beginning of the book where they're on a plane and her dad is speaking Arabic to his mom on the phone. And they're going to visit they go down like every like New Year's for this big celebration. And the guy sitting beside her dad, because her and her mom are sitting beside each other, and then her dad's across the aisle. And the guy sitting beside her dad gets uncomfortable and says something to the stewardess. And the stewardess says like, "Sir, you're making this guy uncomfortable." And then she speaks up. She's like 15, 16. She speaks up and is like, "This is my dad. He's speaking Arabic because that's his mom and she's older and she doesn't speak English," and blah, blah, blah. And so this triggers her to want to learn more about her faith and to teach people about Muslims and the Muslim faith. So having a baby and children has been very difficult to make video content lately. And trying to do this wrap up that I want to have posted for tomorrow, and I'm not even done filming, let alone editing and getting it put up. But I just finished editing the part where I was talking about All American Muslim Girl, and I just wanted to quickly finish that part and talk about how I really liked her faith journey. I am a Christian myself and became a Christian later in life, in like around 19, 20, 21 years old. And she, in the book, is around 16 years old going on this faith journey, and she goes to like a Quran, I want to say a Quran Bible study, but like a Bible study, but studying the Quran, and like a ladies study. So she's with a few other students from her school and stuff like that. She's never been open about the fact that her family is Muslim because they don't practice it or anything like that. And it's a really hard thing to come out and talk about publicly because there's a lot of perceptions about that. And I really like how the author talked about those misconceptions about Muslims and the faith. It was really interesting to see some of the like racism and hatred geared towards these like teenage girls in the mall who were born and raised in America, and people are like, "Go back to your home" and stuff like that. And it's like, this is my home. This is where I'm from. They addressed a lot, and I really liked that, and I liked her faith journey as well. There was one small scene where she is, I guess, like come out that she's Muslim, and it's like obvious now, and somebody on Instagram sends her like a private message. "Why do you need Jesper?" She's like, "Hey, I see that you're Muslim. That's cool, but you need to follow and accept Christ in your life." It's just really arrogant about the way she does it, and is like, basically like, you're gonna go to hell because you're Muslim and you don't believe in Jesus. Just the way like the main character responds to it is really good, I think. But like as a Christian personally, like I understand because they're teenagers, and I understand where she's coming from in that she believes as a Christian that you have to follow and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior to get to heaven. And she is seeing that this girl is following a faith, and she's like, "But that's not the right faith." And I believe that her heart is coming from a good place because she wants to see her fellow student accept Christ. But she never talked to her about it before. Never said anything about it in the past. Never tried to talk to her about Jesus before until she saw that she was actively a Muslim. And I was like, that's not really a great way. It's like you only care about her soul, her eternity, because you see that she's a Muslim. But before she was a Muslim, you never said even like hi to her. So yeah. I really, really, really liked it, and I would definitely recommend it for the target audience of teenagers who are on a faith journey or are interested in learning more about another faith, like if you're a Christian or Jewish or something and you want to learn more about the Muslim faith. Definitely if you are Muslim or thinking about becoming Muslim, or your family's Muslim or whatever, and you want to read about it too. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It is young, and she is young, and it's YA. So I would probably, if I was rating it at that age, I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 5 kind of thing. But definitely recommend it, and I thought it was a good coming of age, finding faith, accepting who you are and who your parents are and stuff like that story. Okay, so I'm back in my basement and hopefully get like 5 minutes to run through the rest of this wrap up. I got my list of books I read, and I was last talking about All American Muslim Girl. And then I was in the middle of listening to People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and I was unable to finish it. I got about 2 hours left, and it got returned to the library, and there's like 10 people waiting for it. Actually, more like 4 people waiting for it, but that means I've been just waiting for like several weeks now to like all month to be able to finish that. So it's driving me crazy, and I just want to go to the store and buy it because there's also a hold on like the physical copy as well. So I'm just like, it's driving me crazy. And then for the buzzword of July was any like bookish word. So I did the Lost for Words Bookshop. So it's got words and bookshop in it. So bookshop. It's got all the words in it. This one is very character driven, not a whole ton of plot. It's very slow and just like slice of life, I guess. We are following, our main character's name is Loveday. So I've never heard of that name before, so that was interesting. And this takes place in England. Loveday Cardew prefers books to people. If you look carefully, you might glimpse the first lines of the novel she loves most tattooed on her skin. But there are some things Loveday will never show you. Into her refuge, the bookstore where she works, come a poet, a lover, a friend, and 3 mysterious deliveries, each of which stirs unsettling memories. At the very beginning of this book, she's picking up a book that she just finds on the ground. And it's lost, and she works at this bookshop, and she puts a sign in the door. If you've lost this book, please ask for Loveday. I'll give you the book. Guy comes into the store, cute magician guy comes into the store, is like, I lost my book. She's like, you're a terrible person. How could you lose a book? And their kind of like relationship, friendship, kind of goes from there. You're also skipping back to the past sometimes and learning about Loveday's childhood and how she grew up, and there's like this big dark secret. So there's a lot more delving into her past. And then in the present time, it's more about this one past relationship she was in that was not very good, and then this new current potential relationship she could be in, and like why she doesn't want to be in a relationship and stuff like that. So it was good. It wasn't like a 5-star or anything. It wasn't amazing. There was like that little bit of a mystery of like what happened to Loveday in her past and why she's more closed off and stuff, but nothing where you're like flipping pages like trying to find out what happened or anything like that. It's just very standard contemporary romance. I don't know what this would be categorized under. It was a good time. I'm glad that I am able to get through these books for the Buzzwordathon and enjoying them for the most part. This one, I'd say this was probably like a 3, but I did like the exploration. She does grow and change and mature as the book goes on. She's 25 in this, so I did like that there was character growth and stuff. So it was good, and I liked it better than the Paris one that I read earlier this year. And then I read Never Saw Me Coming, which I talk about in this other video clip. So last night I finished reading Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Curran. I finished this book. I believe I heard about this through Eric at Break Even Book last year, and I put it on hold on my library right away, and I finally just got it like last month. So I finally got to this book. I love the cover, like the colors of the words and stuff. So this is a thriller. I will read what it says on the back because I don't have words to tell you what this book is about. It would be easy to underestimate Chloe Severe. She's a freshman honor student, hot girl next door, who also happens to be a psychopath. Chloe is one of 7 students in her DC-based college who are part of an unusual clinical study for psychopaths that tracks their moods and movements. But she has a side hobby involving a childhood friend who grievously wronged her. When one of the students in the study is found murdered in the psychology building, a dangerous game of cat and mouse begins, and Chloe goes from hunter to prey. As she races to identify the killer and put her own path for revenge into action, she'll be forced to decide if she can trust any of her fellow psychopaths. Never Saw Me Coming is a compulsive, voice-driven thriller by an exciting new talent in fiction that will keep you guessing till the very last page. So there's this program at this college where this professor wants to study psychopath, and he's been doing it for like 20 years, and he believes that if you catch them young and you diagnose them young, you can train them to live in the world and not do criminal activities, basically, and you can give them like healthy outlets for their anger or anything else that might be coming up in their life, and basically just dealing with life in a healthy way. So there's this program, and it pays like their full tuition. The grant money helps pay for them to go to college. So that's awesome. And she gets to be a part of this program. Okay, so I read this book. Tell us what it's about.
Never Saw Me Coming. This is the one about psychopaths that have to get tracked using Apple Watch.
No.
Not sponsored.
It just says smartwatches. Doesn't say Apple.
Uh-huh.
It does. And they're in school.
New Zealand.
They're in school in
College, I thought.
Yes. The main person that we're following is a freshman, I believe. First year, and another guy, and then a third guy that we're following is like a senior in college in the program. And there's like 8 of them, but they're not supposed to know about each other. Like if they happen to run into each other on campus, like if I'm a psychopath and he's a psychopath and we're both in the program, we're not supposed to like know about each other, kind of thing. And smartwatches are like a common enough thing that it's not like that person's wearing a smartwatch, they're a psychopath.
That's what the inside of the book looks like.
Yeah, pretty standard fare. I really like the coloring though on it.
Yeah, those look cool.
It's pretty cool.
You got like a creepy looking girl in the back. It's not that creepy looking, but
Kind of psychopathic
mysterious.
looking.
Is her name Chloe?
Yes, it is.
I see the word. I
It is
see the name
not-
Chloe a whole bunch in the back of this.
Is it though?
Oh.
And she was
Only.
only
Why it keeps turning on?
I don't know what it's doing. It turned on again. DVD
Closed.
entertainment system is possessed
That's
apparently.
the spine.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
I don't know. You were supposed to tell us about the plot of this book that I
I
read.
did. Well, I did as much as you've told me. Psychopaths, tracking psychopaths into college.
She was
People are still
network
dying, I
connection lost. Yeah, something's going on with her thing. She was like 12. We find out something that happened to her. I won't give away spoilers. So now she's like, I'm gonna go hunt down this guy who did this bad thing to me. So she ends up going to this college, and they get a free ride at this college if they agree to be part of the psychopath program. What was I saying? Oh, like basically, like if you can diagnose psychopathy in somebody at a young age, then you can like train them, and then they won't become like criminals, kind of thing, and be able to like function in society. Anyways, 2 people in the program. I don't know if it says this on the back. Yes, one of the students in the study is found murdered, so that's not a spoiler. She's hunting this other guy down who did something bad to her, but he's not in the program. She is. And he's a few years older than her, so he's like a senior in the college, but that's why she chose to go to that college and happened to get a free ride because she's crazy. And
Psychopath.
yeah. So somebody else in the program that like you're not following that person. You're not following all the students in the program either. It's a very limited, it's like 3 people that you follow. Somebody in the program dies. And so like the psychopaths are being hunted down. So there's kind of like 2 things you're trying to follow. Her wanting to murder this guy for something he did to her in the past, and then the mystery is like who's hunting the psychopaths. It was
Or is he the one hunting the psychopaths?
Who's he?
The one that she wants to kill. That's my guess.
Okay. I thought it was okay. I think it's a debut novel, so I would definitely pick up more from her. She's a writer and a scientist. She has short fiction has been published in magazines. Never Saw Me Coming is her first novel, so I think there's a lot of potential for growth there. I thought it was really good. Maybe not quite as dark and twisty as it could have been, but being her first novel, I think it's definitely worth the read and definitely worth checking her out in the future. 2 thumbs up.
Scone Ebert gives it 2 thumbs up. Nobody will get that joke. Unless they're
now.
old.
Old like
I
us.
just aged myself. So.
Yep. As well as reading the graphic novel Swim Team that I heard about from Ashley at the Bookish Realm, and getting my 10-year-old daughter to read about it, and I wrap up that book in this clip. So I just finished reading Swim Team by Johnny Christmas. And this was a graphic novel that I picked up because of Ashley at the Bookish Realm. This is a middle grade graphic novel, and it talks a little bit about the history of Black people in swimming and why some people, or even some Black people, believe like that they don't swim because of with segregation, and then the end of segregation, and they're being allowed to have like mixed race pools and stuff like that, but they made public pools be more private, and then only white families could afford to go to them, and then the public pools were like way out of the way of the neighborhoods that were predominantly Black. And there is a character in here that she talks a little bit about the history of swimming and the African culture. So it was really cool. My daughter did read this. She is 10, and I believe she enjoyed it as well. This is a little bit of the art style. Middle grade books, like, I'm always like the bullying and stuff in them. I am like, they are mean. I don't like these kids. And it makes me sad because my daughter has 1 more year of elementary left, and then she'll be in middle school. And I'm like, middle school kids are vicious. This story is about Bree. She is new to town. They are moving, it's her and her dad, and they're moving from Brooklyn to Florida. And she's really good at math, and she wants to join the math team at the new school, but it is filled up, and she ends up being put on the swim team as an extracurricular, and she's scared about that because she doesn't know how to swim. So there is somebody living in their building that helps teach her how to swim, and she used to go to the same middle school. The person helping teach her how to swim almost brought them to the regional like finals, but they came in second, and this is their next chance to get there. So this is a good story about middle school swimming, friendships, what it means to be on a team and work together, and conquering your fears. and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think it is worth the read. It's really quick and easy. It is 245 pages, but it's a middle grade graphic novel, so it reads fairly quickly. And middle grade always hits like the feelings and stuff like that, and like I said, like the bullying and stuff in here, there's a little bit of it, and because there's like one school that's like, we're better than you kind of thing. I'm just like, these people are mean. I don't like these people at all. Yeah, overall, I definitely recommend it. And then the last book I listened to was The Humans by Matt Haig. I listened to that obviously as an audiobook from my library, and I have read The Midnight Library from him. That was not the first Matt Haig book I've ever read, but that was the first adult Matt Haig book I'd ever read. And his books that I read that I enjoy are the Boy Called Christmas books and The Girl Who Saved Christmas, and those books, they're very whimsical and fun and cute and sweet. His adult books that I've noticed, like The Midnight Library and then The Humans, it's supposed to be more of like a commentary on life, and I find that they're okay. If you don't know what The Humans is about, there's this really smart mathematician that is going to discover the answer to this huge problem about prime numbers. Mathematicians and stuff have been trying to figure this out, and it's going to solve like so many things. It's going to like, you're going to be able to do time travel, all this stuff if this gets discovered. Well, he's discovered it. And this alien race is like, no, the humans cannot handle this at all. And so they send this guy over from their planet to like inhabit the body of this professor guy and make it so he like erases memory kind of thing. And then his job is supposed to be to kill off anybody else in the family or friends, or he's a professor, so anyone working at the school, anyone he's talked to about this potential like breakthrough in this mathematical equation, he's supposed to just like kill them off. But he knows absolutely nothing about being human or anything like that. So he's learning all these new things as he's awaking in Andrew's body. And it's like, why do humans wear clothes? And like all this stuff. And then he's like listening to music and reading poetry and learning what it means to be married and have a son and stuff like that. But like, he doesn't have the memories of the guy that he took over. So he doesn't know he doesn't know that he's not in a good relationship with his son right now, or like that things have been rocky in his marriage or whatever, right? Like just things aren't great. But he's learning all this stuff about humanity, and he's like, wait, I don't want to kill off these people, or, you know, humans aren't that bad or anything like that. And it was an okay time. I think I prefer Matt Haig's younger books, his middle grade-ish Christmas books. I think I prefer those a little bit more, but I don't hate his adult books. They're just more like middle of the road, 3 stars. So that is it for what I've read in June and July. I have a few, like 5 more books on the go that are not going to be finished, so I will leave those for August's wrap up. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you read in June and July, what your favorite reads were this summer, what else you plan on reading. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!